Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's a real honor to be here. I'm not an architect, but I love architecture and I have great friends who are architects. I was looking for a name for my next collection of poems, and I was shown this documentary film by a friend of mine called Onkelo. It was directed by a Danish filmmaker, Michael Madsen, and it was called Into Eternity. And what it is, it's actually a nuclear waste repository, the first one in the world that's being built off the coast of Finland, about 180 miles west of Helsinki. Now, the most amazing thing about this hole, or cave, or cavity, is that it's supposed to last 100,000 years. 100,000 years. I mean, that number is just boggling. It's just boggling. The oldest human structures in the world are the Tarsian temples in Malta, which go back to 3000 BC. The pyramids are just about 2500 BC. So to build something that lasts 100,000 years is just boggling. And as a poet, as a writer, it's like, wow, this is perfect. This is perfect for my next collection of poems. Next slide, please. All right, this is kind of like a cross-section of what it's supposed to look like. Right now, it's about 420 meters in depth, and these are supposed to be the rods of the nuclear rods, the spent nuclear rods that are going to be buried deep in the ground. So this project started in the 1970s, and we're now sort of, I think, in the second or third stage of it. The fourth stage is supposed to start in 2020. So this entire construction would take almost 50 to 60 years to complete. Next. All right. I'm going to read two poems as well, because I'm not going to talk too much about the structure. So I'm going to read two poems inspired by Onkelo. The first one is, I presume this is the shaft that is going down into the earth. So, Onkelo. And into the earth they will carve into you a maze 3 miles long, 500 meters in depth. You have been chosen, this spectre of rock and stone, this repository, this unholy land, no longer curious, to lay forever in sleep, yet awake. 100,000 years of rock beneath rock, inhaling the same air for an eternity. Next slide, please. I don't really see this very well. But one of the most, I suppose, it brings up a lot of questions, because this is a build. Well, it's not a building. It's a construction that is not built to celebrate humanity or human civilization. It's built to hide something so terrible as nuclear waste. So it's a tomb. It's a tomb. It's supposed to bury something that we don't want to know about. Now, one of the most interesting philosophical questions that came out of this documentary is, how do we tell people in the future to stay away from this place? Do we put up signs? In what language? Do we use symbols? Or do we not bother telling people at all, and to let them to discover for themselves what a terrible place this is? So this is not a place of honor. This is not a place that celebrates architecture or human greatness. It is something to hide, to keep hidden forever, never, for eternity. Right. How does this work? Press the button. No, sorry, I'm really bad at this. Sorry, next slide, please. Okay, so it's something that's not built to celebrate humanity. One of the other things in the documentary is that it mentions that the people who are working on this will never see it complete. So the whole notion of mortality and time and how this space will not have anything in it. The impossibility of human contact. It will not have anything in it. It's a dead space that will house nuclear waste for 100,000 years. So that concept for me is actually quite boggling. And I mentioned earlier, one of the things that the documentary mentions is language. How do we tell people that this is a dangerous place? So I'd like to end my presentation with another poem which is a love poem. And this collection of poems, Envelope, is also a very personal collection of works. So it's things that are unsaid, things that I've kept hidden for many years. So it's a very personal collection. And I suppose the language of love is a universal language and something that will hopefully live the test of time. So this is a love poem. If we do not love each other, how come the thought of you dissolves me like sorrow? Like a world being poured back into a dead lake, bereft yet congenial. Perhaps love is a burden, devoid of simplicity. Perhaps you had been bored by happiness, you would have found it dull. In your home in Saint-Gilles, I imagine an entomologist's study, the stag beetle I gave you, placed on a promontory facing a wall of books, other framed dead eagles. I need to write you out of me, like a diminishing carapace of dots and lines, and after a few sips of whiskey, I no longer think of you. Thank you.